Hello, I am Carmen Anderson with eXp Realty, and today I want to explain the buyer's agency agreement to you. So number one, you are either starting to look at homes. Number two, you've started tossing around the idea of buying. Or number three, maybe you've talked to and already been pre-approved with a mortgage lender and are now ready to start shopping for a home. So, now it's time to connect with your realtor, and I'm so glad we have connected, and I look forward to helping you through the home buying process. And this is just one way that I feel like I'm different than other agents, and I wanted to share this with you. I just really like to educate my clients on how this whole process works, and I always walk with you through each step of the process. And I always work to do my best to make buying a home as stress-free as possible for you. The buyer's agency agreement is an agreement signed between the buyer and the agent's brokerage. And I want to go over the form with you today to make sure you understand what the buyer's agency agreement is saying. So this form is a requirement for agents to have filled out and signed. So if you don't mind, go ahead and please pull up the buyer's agency agreement form that I attached to the email I sent over to you. It should be attached to the same email that you got this video link from. So let's start on page 1 of the agreement. Number 1, it's called the right to represent. This first section states who represents who. So in the spaces, this will be my brokerage's name, my name, and your name or names. This states that I will represent you in purchasing a home. If you look at section 2, it is named property. Under the property section, it states any property in Northwest Arkansas. This way I can represent you for whatever home you decide on here in Northwest Arkansas. Now section 3 is titled duration of agency. And duration of agency is the length of time that it may take to find a property and get it closed. This is a 6-month time duration. Now if you look at section 4 and 5, you can read over these 2 sections, and if you have any questions, please let me know. It's pretty self-explanatory. Now let's go on to page 2 of the agreement. Second page, number 6 at the top is selling firm's fee. And this section can be a little confusing, so I want to make sure you understand this section. This is the selling firm's fee, or compensation of the firm. And here it states that the buyer is obligated to pay the selling firm's fee. And that is correct, but let me explain what all this actually means. This section basically explains how the buyer's agent gets paid at the end of the transaction. The seller and their listing agent are actually the ones who agreed what percentage that they will pay the buyer's agent. And in most cases, the listing agent's brokerage gets paid 3% and the buyer's agent's brokerage gets paid 3%. It's confusing because some buyers do not understand why a seller would be willing to pay for the buyer to have a buyer's agent, so to speak. And, that's mainly because sellers want to sell their house and they know that smart buyers out there have an agent working on their behalf. So this is where the listing agent and the buyer's agent, they work together to bring the right buyer together with the right seller. However, there may be a few rare cases where the seller will not pay the buyer's agent's commission. An example of this might be something like a for sale by owner home, when the sellers are not willing to pay any commission or work with a realtor. And in that case, the buyer could be liable for paying the 3% commission to the buyer's agent's brokerage. Also, sometimes a listing agent and a seller may not offer 3% to the buyer's agent, and in that case, the buyer could be liable to pay the difference in the commission percentage. And this is what it costs us to do business, and this is what we charge. But of course, I want you to know that I will do everything in my power to have the seller and listing firm pay the commission. And I will also work to do things to help, such as negotiate the price of a home to help offset this. However, in the event that does not happen, you, the buyer, could still be liable for that commission. But let's talk worst case scenario. At that point, we could have a conversation about how bad would you really want this specific home. Or maybe you would just prefer to continue looking at other homes that the seller would pay so that you would not have to pay that commission. But I do want you to know that I will do everything I can to help you get the best price and terms available. Now, as the buyer, I don't want you to think that you're going to have to pay the buyer's agent's commission. Not at all. So let me explain it this way, so that it doesn't sound like it's such a worry or a cost for you as a buyer. In most cases, the buyer will not have to pay these fees. But because I like to educate my clients, I do want to make sure you understand what the possibilities are. So think of this. About 98% of sellers will pay the buyer's agent's brokerage commission fees. And probably at least 1% of sellers will end up paying the agent's brokerage commission if it were like a for sale by owner home or something. So I'd say at least 99% of sellers will pay the agent's brokerage commission. So as you can see, it would be very rare for a buyer like you to have to pay the commission to the buyer's agent's brokerage. So also, you will notice in the other blank, I put zeros. Some agents and companies will actually stick some fees in there and try to charge buyers extra fees. And I do not do that. I feel like I will do a good job for you, and I do not need to add extra fees. I hope you have a really good understanding of this section 6 now, and I hope I have explained it well. If you look at section 7, it's called agency representation. This section simply states, like in box A, selling firm may represent both buyer and seller. This means that if box A is checked, the buyer would like to see the properties listed by other EXP agents in Northwest Arkansas. For example, if the listing agent is from my company, then this discloses what our responsibilities are, and I will still be working to get you the best deal as always. And in that instance, the brokerage is in the middle, but I work for you, the buyer, and the listing agent works for the seller, just the same as if it was any other company. But if I were to check box B, I would not be able to show you any properties listed by my company. Therefore, you would be missing out on a lot of home and property options. Let's move on to section 8, expired agency conditions. I put 30 days in this box, and that means that once the buyer's agency agreement expires for 30 days, if the buyer purchases or obtains a property I originally showed during the agency period, the buyer would owe the buyer's agent part of the commission or fee. Now in section 9, cancellation, as you will see, I put 0 in the blank, and this is on page 3, because I feel like I do an excellent job as an agent, and I do not think you will feel the need to cancel. It is very important to me that I work hard to gain your loyalty, and I appreciate you sticking with me through this process. I'm going to do what's best for you, and I'm going to help you get the right home at the right price. Now take a look at sections 10 through 21. These sections are pretty self-explanatory. And if you want to, please read through these sections and then let me know if you have any questions. I'll be happy to explain. Now on the last page, page 5 of the agreement, this is where we sign and where you'll need to write or type in some of your information. It is really brief and will not take you long at all. Now once we complete this agreement, we can move forward and start touring homes. Here comes the exciting part. And when you find a home you love, I will help you through the offer process and the rest of the entire transaction through closing when the house is finally yours. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it's been educational and helpful. I look forward to helping you find your special home very soon.